Joining.
Here we go. So great to see everyone. I love this. Hi, Eric. Good to see you. Louise, hello. How are you? So Louise, do you have fireside chat next week or is it the week after? It's the week after, right?
It's next week, the first Thursday of the month. Yeah.
All right. Who's the guest speaker?
It's Dr. Kimberly Luty from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. So really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. Fantastic. I'll make sure that I'll put a link in the Women in Drones Facebook page. That'll be a great
Cool.
one. Not to miss that one. All right. Good to see everybody. I love our Tuesday mornings. Hi, Bill. How are you? How's the world of AAM?
Going good. Should have an interview with Ed Darius of Saberwing, and that's going to be preparatory to an article I'll write for the summer edition of Vertical Space. That's exciting, and I'm also interviewing Daniela. Can't remember Daniela's name from FIU, and that I should be able to build out an article for that. And so, really interesting stuff going on, and it's all exciting. So thanks. Good to see you.
Sounds like it. Wow, we'll be looking out for all that good stuff coming this way. Hi, Albert. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Awesome. All right. I do have some announcements to make. I know everybody's excited to see our spotlight speaker today, but I want to make some announcements. I'm going to do a big shout out to Sheila, who's running behind the scenes for me. Thank you, Sheila. So I'm going to segue over really quick and make a couple of announcements. And I don't know if you're at AUVSI, on your way to AUVSI. I believe Sharon is actually here with us today on the Coffee Connection from the plane because she's on her way to AUVSI, right? And so first off, I want to do a big shout out, of course, to my sponsor because that's super exciting. Professor Drones is a sponsor today, and I'm going to put a link in there because they design, develop, audit, and teach about drone technology. So I'll put a link in there for that. Also, if you are heading to AUVSI, Women in Drones is doing a meet and greet and a little networking and a book signing. Yay! And so that's going to be tomorrow. That will be April 24th. There is going to be a location for the book signing. Book signing is going on from 12 to 2. And we're trying to meet up around 11:30 and just do some mingling, meet and greet, and do a big photo op, right? So we hope we can see you there. Another thing that I wanted to do a big shout out about is tomorrow night in the evening, there's AUVSI chapter meetup, and it's a Tano meet. This sounds fantastic. There is a drone light show, there's country music, all kinds of festivities going on. And I'm going to give you a link for that as well. And I hope to see you there because I am getting myself all dolled up because I am going and I'm going to have a good time, even though I do not know how to line dance.
Well, they developed it for people that can only count to like 3 or 4, so you'll be fine. Don't worry. Okay. There was a reason line dancing was developed. Yes. Yes.
And I'm such a horse person. You would think I could line dance, but no. So, all right. So I am going to put all of that information into our chat. I encourage you to put comments, questions into our chat. We're going to segue over to our amazing spotlight speaker today. And any comments and questions, we want to be interactive. He's already told me he is ready to answer any questions on the fly, ready to go, right?
So that's right. Not only on the fly, but I promised that I wouldn't drone on too long.
But we like it. It's okay, right? So I'm super excited to have our spotlight speaker today. We have Robert Dahlstrom, and he is with Apellix. And the kind of neat, and I know that's why everybody is here today, but he's the founder and the CEO of Apellix, and they provide tethered software-driven aerial robotic platforms for washing and cleaning, paint, all kinds of surfaces and such like that, and maintenance. And so I'm super excited to have Bob. He goes by Bob. I'm super excited to have him here today, and I'm going to segue over to you. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm very, very happy to be here, and I hope I have some content that everybody's going to enjoy. When I show these pictures and these videos, most people love it, and they're like, "More, please." So I'm going to just go ahead and jump directly into the presentation. So let me share my screen here and get it into presentation mode. So a little bit about Apellix. As Desi mentioned, we make elevated platforms, so they're drones, but they're different than most drones, right? So it's a little bit counterintuitive because a lot of drones go out there and they fly far and they fly fast and they do really good things with cameras. We kind of flip that model on its head, right? We take drones, we slow them down and we tether them and we fly close to structures and we physically modify structures. So we have three products, our power wash drone, which we're going to see today videos of, because that's what's in production and available for purchase. And then under development with the U.S. Army, we're developing a painting drone, right? And then we also have a drone for industrial use cases, a very niche use case where it physically contacts structures to take readings, thickness of steel or thickness of metal, used primarily in oil and gas. But right now, what we have in the market and what we're very excited about is this power wash drone. So I'm going to show some videos of it doing different jobs from our customers. So these are some of our customers that have done things. Anything from an example like this where they're cleaning buildings in an urban core. And what's kind of remarkable about this is a transformational technology. Not only is it, the dull, dirty, dangerous we hear about with drones all the time, yes, but also the safety aspect, because we're eliminating a person in elevation and putting a robot up there, putting a drone up there to do the work instead. So there, it's safer, right? It's also much, much faster, because to do a job like this, for example, you would have to, this one actually is very difficult because there's a patio there, and then you have to fly up off the patio. So to get washing equipment up there would be extremely difficult. You'd have to have a very expensive lift with an articulating arm to reach out and get to this. So access could be an issue, but the drone, it's not. So it's safer, it's much, much faster in many instances, and quite often it's less expensive. The price of a lift is several times the price of a drone. So it can, it can unlock a huge amount of economic value. So not only can it clean windows and buildings and structures and city core like we were just seeing, but it can clean large things like arenas, like we're seeing it clean here in Pittsburgh. And that's one of the nice things is, right, I'll go to sleep at night, I'll wake up in the morning, and one of our customers has posted another video of something that they've cleaned. So it's super exciting to see this out in the world doing great things. And again, this is another example of a place that could not be cleaned the traditional way. Traditionally, you would either have ropes that you rappel down the side. This roof didn't have any of those tie-down points. Or you would have had a lift, but you couldn't put the lift on top of that building because that was like floor 6 through 9 because you're on the 6th floor, right, or 5th floor. So it also is something that we've spent a lot of time on our precision flight control to make these things extremely accurate. I mean, when we do a demo here at our facility, it's great. We've got a big wall out back, plywood wall, and we take our paintball gun out there and we shoot a bunch of little dots up on the wall. And then even people that have never flown a drone before, we hand them the controls. and they're able to knock those dots right off the wall, because unlike most drones with small little movements of the stick and the drone zooms around real fast, we have tuned this specifically to fly slow and precise. And so big movements of the stick, little tiny movements of the drone, because you're close to a structure. You don't want to be moving very rapidly. But it's super fun. And the use cases are just prolific. So we've already seen cleaning in downtown city cores. We've seen cleaning stadiums. Here it's cleaning a roof. There are just a lot of, and we'll see in a little bit some industrial use cases. There are just a lot of different applications for this. And by the way, I would like this presentation to be interactive. So if people have questions or they want to chime in, feel free to do so, please. So here, let me just stop the video for a second, because this is a good shot of what's required to do this, because the drone is only one part of this equation. If you're going to be cleaning, if you're going to be pressure washing or soft washing with a drone, you have to have all this other stuff here. So, right, you've got your equipment that you haul around on your trailer, and that's where you've got your water, your chemicals, your pumps, your hoses, and then all the equipment that you use for cleaning the flat work, right? So the sidewalks and the driveways, those get cleaned too. So the drone is just the right tool for the right job, but it's not going to clean, most of the time, it's not going to clean 100% of the job site. But this example shows you, what all is required for these types of jobs. So there's the reservoir for the water, the reservoir for the chemicals. There's the what's called a proportioner, which injects the chemicals into the stream of water. So you can have different concentrations of chemicals, whether you want more chemical or less chemical. There's little reservoirs for surfactants that you can add that can do things like add a degreaser. And then you've got your proportioner where you can mix all that together to different mixtures to do the cleaning that you need. And then it gets, sophisticated. Hot water in certain instances. You can use deionized water in other instances. It's actually quite amazing, deionized water, because that's what you need to rinse windows with. That's how these drones are able to clean windows, because by using what you're trying to do, right, when you're cleaning, is you're trying to break the molecular bond of the dirt or the biological growth agent from the surface. And you can do that with pressure. You can do that with chemicals. There are different ways to do it. But once you've done that and you've cleaned it, you're going to have little spots of water that dry if you're using regular water. And you'll have those little dots, or you'll have some streaks, kind of like when you put your dishwasher, you put your jet dry in there, and so you don't have little spots on your glasses. Similarly, that's what deionized water does, because it's a filter basically that goes on your rig, on your truck, and you rinse with the deionized water, because what happens is the negative ion that's missing, right? Dirt and everything else has a positive ion that's attracted to it, and it sucks it to that water, and then it just sheets off. And so what happens when that sheets off the glass, there's nothing left. There's no water left to have streaks or to have little dots. And so you end up with these glistening, clean, beautiful windows by using deionized water. So it's also something that is only applicable in certain cases. For example, if your window is so dirty, you have to there's a term in the industry called razor blades and steel wool. If you have to take razor blades and steel wool to clean your window, the drone's not going to clean it. There's no way. But if it's reasonably clean, like a lot of apartment buildings, and you're cleaning it again, then a drone is a perfect application. And the video we just saw of the drone cleaning an apartment is amazing, because that apartment building had stone, brick, wood, I think some stucco, and then of course glass. And it was all being cleaned with one chemical application. So they applied mainly a chemical of sodium hypochlorite, which is a strong bleach, and then they go back and rinse it. And the windows they rinse with that deionized water, and they're left with a clean structure. So, you have to have the knowledge of how to clean. You have to have that rig or that setup that you tow behind your truck, which has all the reservoirs and pumps and hoses. And then you add to that the drone. And with that, you're able to unlock huge amounts of efficiency because, again, this is so much faster and so much safer than manually doing it. And then the use cases are just prolific. They're just all sorts of different use cases. And that's actually a little segue. That's how the U.S. Army got involved with Apellix. They saw our power washing drone and they saw our painting drone, our spray painting drone that's under development. And they approached us and they said, we have a need for decontaminating assets in the field in the event of a chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear event, right? So we're working with the CBRN Defense Division of the U.S. Army. And at first, we're like, well, if you're trying to wash off these troop movers and tanks and trucks and things, can't you just like set up some PVC piping and drive them through your cleaning thing that you're spraying on it? But it turns out after, they obviously knew a lot more about the decontamination agent process than we did. It turns out that their process involved soldiers in hazmat suits out there with like a fire hose, rinsing down these assets. And then they would spray each other to clean each other's suits off before they could take the suits off. And if you're in a hot environment where you're rotating out every 15 minutes because of heat stroke issues, you just don't have a lot of time to get these things cleaned, and it uses a lot of resources. So we've developed in conjunction with them an autonomous system that actually the drone pops up, it looks around, it finds the truck, flies over to the truck, it'll map the truck and build an internal map to the internal computer, and then it'll go fly and clean that truck. So we've done that proof of concept for the military, and we're progressing it forward. But the beautiful thing about this is everybody talks about drones and warfare, and with Ukraine and Israel, it's a big deal. But this is actually a drone that can help prevent war. Because what the Army has told us is once we're done with this process, right, something that used to take them up to 5 hours to do, 10 hours to do, we can do now in 10 minutes with an autonomous drone. They're going to shout it from the rooftops because they want people to know that they've just lost that advantage for dropping a chemical or biological weapon in the first place. So by having a drone response that can go clean these assets and decontaminate them, we can say that we're potentially able to prevent war with drones, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But back to the cleaning drones, as you can see, they're not only buildings and structures, but also industrial assets that be cleaned with it. So again, these are all built to the FAA 55-pound classification for aircraft. They're 19.5 pounds for the frame. When you unfold the arms up, they're about 3 feet by 3 feet. So they're pretty big industrial tools. And the batteries are 10 pounds. So that gives you 29 pounds. And that gives you 25 pounds of lift. So if you put a hose on there, the FAA counts the weight of the hose and the weight of the material in the hose, the water or chemicals. So when we go up in height, we're lifting more and more weight. We hit that 55-pound threshold at about 190 feet, 192 feet, which is 19 floors, 19 stories. Now, coincidentally, at about 19 stories, it starts getting hard to see where your water and your chemical is hitting your structure. So that's kind of a natural limitation. But that said, some of our customers have done 280 feet. For example, that elevated chiller that we saw just before this clip, that was a 280-foot elevated chiller. They took the hose and they clamped it halfway up. So they were basically flying 150 feet of hose for the first part and then 150 feet of hose for the second part, and that gives you 300 feet. And they stayed well within that 55-pound weight limit. We also, because our background is oil and gas, right, where we first launched our first drones, we're very safety conscious. We're a safety company, and safety is paramount to using our drones. And we've designed our drones with safety in mind. So even at 55 pounds of thrust, you're only at 65% capacity, right? 55 pounds of weight. We have 140 pounds of thrust. But even at 55 pounds, you're only at 60% capacity. So you still have extra capacity to go higher or make emergency maneuvers if you needed to. But these are powerful. I mean, this is an example of peeling paint off the wall. It's running a 3,500 PSI pressure wash pump at 10 gallons per minute. And in a minute, you'll see the operator just hold his hands like this with the control in his hand. So the drone is just hovering that stable without moving at that flow rate and at that volume of pressure. So it's quite a remarkable machine that's purpose-built specifically for pressure washing and soft washing. And it is being received well in the industry, not only domestically, but internationally. We're shipping these things around the world at this point. So it's a super exciting time.
I'm gonna jump in really quick because we have had a lot of activity into the chat. And but you had just mentioned the PSI. Can you repeat what is the PSI?
So these are hooked to different pumps, and different pumps have different pressures. So pounds per square inch pressure is for this one that you see here is 3,500 pounds per square inch. So that's similar to a pressure washer you would use at your home or something. But what's different than what you'd use at your home is the volume. So instead of the 2 or 3 or 4 gallons per minute that you're using from a spigot at your house, this is using 10 gallons per minute. So it's getting a lot more force, but you can see the drone is stable. It's not being kicked back at all by that.
I did. That's why I was like, wow, what was the PSI that he said? Because it's stable. It's very stable.
Yeah. Now most people, that it's only used for pressure washing occasionally. Most people clean with the method called soft wash because that's so much faster, because there you're just applying a bunch of chemical and it's sheeting down and it's cleaning. Versus pressure wash, you would have to do a lot more passes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to dislodge, to break that molecular bond of the dirt or the biological growth agent. The chemical does that instead of pressure. So 95% of the use of this is with soft wash. And those pumps typically run at 300 PSI, but also at that 8 to 10 gallon per minute flow rate.
So do you want to go ahead and address some of the comments and questions that came up in our
chat?
chat?
I would be happy to. Let me open up the chat box here. I didn't have it open. My apologies.
No worries. So I will start off with one that I believe Sheila put in here about what types of waivers are needed for the pilot in order to be spraying, utilizing some of the chemicals and such like that.
So luckily, none. Unless you're spraying an herbicide or a pesticide and you need your Part 137. So if you're spraying agricultural chemicals, you need a Part 137. But if you're just spraying, a biodegradable chemical or biological agent, because people will use both. They'll use like bleach to clean with, or they'll use something like a simple green or a wet and forget, one of these biological growth agents that attack the dirt and the biological growth by eating away at it over time. Or they'll use something in an industrial setting like a chlorid or a CX207, which are compounds that are used a lot on like above ground storage tanks to make sure that there's no salt or other items that could cause corrosion, because there's three main uses for this. One is to clean something. One is to be preventative maintenance in industry for keeping corrosion at bay. And then third is surface prep for painting. So this can do limited surface prep for painting. But before we get to the next question, let me just show you this really sweet little 1-minute video that our distributor in Australia created for us.
A sponge, the tool of choice for this Homo sapien as he engages in the ritualistic practice of washing. However, the best pickings are always higher up, but with height comes danger. And only the best equipped can survive the lofty reaches of the urban canopy where safety reigns supreme. But recently, one cleaner has evolved the ability to reach even greater heights. from the safety of the ground. Tool of choice, a wash drone. By thinking differently, they can clean any surface at any height faster and safer than ever before. Wash drones, the next evolution in elevated cleaning.
That's a little bit of fun.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That was good. That was so good.
Yeah, they even have an actor whose voice sounds like David Attenborough. So if you watch BBC, he does like the voice for all these nature documentaries, you know. So it's very tongue-in-cheek and nice to see.
Awesome. Great commercial they did, huh?
Yeah.
So circling back over to our chat, Audrey had mentioned, yes, it's terrifying to watch people that are washing windows on tall buildings. Yes, very much so. And I've seen a few mishaps on YouTube, right? And then Sheila had mentioned, are there examples of cleaning solar panels? So one of the things you had mentioned was the chemical used. You would think it would be a good purpose for the solar panels. I know my mom washes her race car with that, so there's no spots on it, you know.
Yes, a lot of our users do solar panels with these. So the drone, not only, most of what I showed was videos of it shooting straight out, but there's also a wand. It uses, you know, industry standard power washing tools and tips and wands and extensions. There's one that we send with the drone that's bent at a 45-degree angle, so you can spray down. And then one of the nozzles, you twist it, anything from a long laminar flow to like a 180-degree fan. So they'll put that on when they're cleaning the solar panels. So they'll rinse them first, and then they'll use a special solar panel cleaner, and then they'll rinse that off, depending. Some of them will leave it with that cleaner on there and they're done. Others will rinse that cleaner off with deionized water and then they're done. Now, it's important not to ever use pressure. So you wouldn't use 3,500 PSI on a solar panel because you're going to damage it. But if you're using the soft wash method of that 300 PSI, people use our drones for that all the time. Yeah.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about the drone that's actually being used?
Yeah. So it's a custom-built, purpose-built drone that we've developed at Apellix from the ground up with, you know, obviously carbon fiber frame, carbon fiber for the landing gear, aircraft grade aluminum for the different joints and where the aircraft frame fits together. And then inside we've got you know, the autopilot and all the electronics, and then a camera on the front, and then we've got a, you know, standard remote with your FPV view and all that type of stuff on there. So it's I've got some other additional tools on there that make it purpose driven and successful for our customers. And that includes not only the you know, the flight control, where it's always flying in slow motion or cleaning mode, as we call it. So you have the option, of course, to flip it into ADI mode or into, you know, fast mode if you wanted to. But everybody leaves it in cleaning mode just because you're flying close to a structure and you don't need to be going 40 miles an hour or don't want to be. And then there's another component, which is a ground-based ball valve that you control from the remote. And so basically what that allows you to do is you flip a switch on the remote, that ball valve will open, and then the water will snake its way through the tube and then start squirting out of the drone. So you're not wasting water or chemicals by always having the water on. You wait till you're up at elevation, flip that button, then you start cleaning. When you're done, you flip the button again and the water goes off, and then, you know, you can land. So yeah, it is a purpose-built drone that we design, build, and manufacture here in Jacksonville, Florida.
Awesome. There's a question in our chat about what type of hose are you using?
So it uses industry standard hoses. So people will use the the 3,500 PSI hose, but you can't go as high because it weighs more. So those are typically heavier hoses with the steel reinforcement in them. Then when you're doing soft wash, you use a hose that is rated for 300 PSI, which is a lot lighter and a lot more flexible. And that's from a company called Flexilla. It's a really nice hose because it is so easy to move around the job site.
Awesome. A lot of great questions in our chat right now, and a lot of people doing the solar panels. So they were very encouraged about knowing that there's an aspect of that as well. And then I'm going to scroll back down because I saw that Amy had put something in here about this is a great use case for drone tech. Forgive me if it was mentioned. How many drone cleaning companies are in the US, and are there franchise opportunities?
There could be. There's probably right now over 100 that have our drones that are out there using it, doing stuff. And there's a lot more that are cleaning companies that are currently using lifts and other methods of cleaning that could utilize a drone. And I'm sure some of them have franchise opportunities. We don't franchise, we're just the manufacturer. We sell these to the companies that then use them. But I know there's at least 2 of them that do franchises. And if they want to private message me independent of this, I can make those contacts for them.
So that being said, I did just put the link in for the company. May I put your Gmail address or your email address in there?
Yeah, it's bob@apellix.com.
Okay. I can do that if you'd like, or I see you typing.
Yeah.
And then circling back over, Bill has said, did I miss the power use for drone? Is it gas powered, or do you have electricity that goes through the attached cabling?
So we have 2 options. One is we call the model is B1, the battery powered power wash drone. And that one is powered by batteries. Then we have the X1, which is powered from the ground with a tether. So the X1, you plug into a 230 volt, 50 amp circuit with 10,000 continuous watts of power. So it tends to be a generator that's a little bigger than something you could buy at a Home Depot or a Lowe's. So it also tends to be a little bit cumbersome because the power conversion box that goes in there is 50 pounds. And so you have to plug that into your generator. And then you're limited to 300 feet of cable because there's voltage loss after that to power the drone. So what that ends up doing, unless you're doing an industrial job where you're up for hours and hours and cleaning, what that ends up doing is making it slows you down because the batteries are so fast. You can go from 100 feet to the ground, swap batteries, take off and get back up to 100 feet in 90 seconds. So if you had to do that 3 times an hour, you've got 56 minutes of flight time. Most people don't work 56 minutes out of the hour. So everybody loves the B1, the battery powered version. There are only certain use cases where the X1 powered from the ground makes sense.
And David's also asked another question here. Can we use, there was a thank you from Bill popped in there. Can we use the same drone, changing the accessories between the power wash and the paint measuring and such like that?
Yeah.
Are they interchangeable at all?
No, they're purpose built. Each one is different. Yeah.
Awesome.
For example, the power wash drone, you're back maybe 15, 20 feet from a structure, spraying water on it. That doesn't have a lot of the sophistication and computer control that are on the other drones. One of the drones, like the non-destructive testing that measures the thickness of steel by making contact autonomously, one sensor on that drone costs more than the entire power wash drone. So that's a very sophisticated, expensive piece of equipment.
Wow. So through this, we're seeing all this amazing stuff that you have done with these drones and such, but I imagine you've had some challenges along the way.
Oh, of
So,
course.
so can you share some of the challenges that you've overcome and made this success?
Yeah, so Apellix is a 10-year-old company, and we've only recently turned the corner from startup to scale up, or from non-profitable to profitable would be another way of putting it. And that is because of a pivot, right? So for years, we were developing really esoteric, very complicated flight control, right, that allows a drone to automatically fly up to a structure and make contact with it, or to fly, for example, 14 inches from a structure to apply a coating of paint, plus or minus 2 mils. A mil is a thousandth of an inch, because that's what's required in the coating industry. So we spent a lot of time developing all that technology, and then it turns out the simple thing, which doesn't have that sophistication on it, is what everybody wants, and what has the largest market share. So we're blasting out these, pardon the pun, we're blasting out these pressure washing drones, and that's enabling us to double down on the development that we've been doing on these other drones to get them into the market, like the painting drone.
So you've created the software as well? Oh, I think I froze. Did I freeze? I did.
Keeping going forward, even though it's hard.
So I know my internet just stepped out for a second. I don't know if anyone, I had asked about the software side of things. Did you
Yes.
develop the software
Yeah.
for it specifically as well? And so.
Yeah, we developed not only the integrated circuits themselves and the embedded software that goes on those systems, but also the software that runs on the onboard computers. And we're in process of developing the software, migrating it from some of it from the onboard computers to the autopilot itself.
So is the mission, because you said anybody could take the sticks and run the drone. Is it automated per se, or are they actually getting right up there and flying the drone up against
the power wash drone is manual. It's not automated. So you're flying that manually. The other two drones, they are automated. All right. But they're not available to the market yet. They're still in development.
Coming soon.
Hopefully, yes.
Awesome. So what has been the most unique experience that you've had, and how the drone is actually being used?
Oh, a couple. One was actually going inside. So when we started the company 10 years ago, I did a one-page press release and a one-page website, and started going down into the development mode. And one of the first people, filed our patents and all that stuff. One of the first people that contacted us was about painting battleships, right? So this is one of the largest manufacturers in the US that makes these amazing, warships, the aircraft carriers and the destroyers. And so they had us out to come visit them to talk about painting these ships. And we quickly realized that, no, that's a really, hard thing to do, because they're using normal latex paint, weighs about 8 gallons per gallon. They're using these specialty coatings that have zinc and metals and all sorts of things in them. They're 17 pounds per gallon. They're putting it on and measuring it in thousandths of an inch. Putting 5 applications of this coating on each time they build one of these ships. But just going to the shipyard was amazing. And then being there, you're there, and this crane is lifting a structure and building, and they're passing right over top of you on the, you look it up, it's the world's largest crane in the Guinness Book of World Records. And you're there looking at this battleship, and from a distance, they look like they're curved, and they have, bow and a stern and everything. But when you're up there, they're flat. They're just a big, massive piece of steel. And so one of the things we did when we were testing our non-destructive testing drone, right, that makes physical contact with structures, the way it measures the thickness of paint is by it uses eddy current, right? So it's sending a magnetic pulse through the coating, through the paint to the substrate, which is metal, and that pulse is bouncing back, and then they're measuring the thickness of that. So what would happen is that probe tip just in the air would start all of a sudden giving thickness readings, because there was so much iron fragments that were falling on that. You had to wipe it off and keep it in a sheath to keep it from being contaminated. So before you took your measurements. So it was very, very amazing to go to these. But similarly, being inside of the active oil and gas refineries, in your full FRC, fire retardant, clothing, and all the safety protocols that are necessary, but seeing these parts of the world that most people don't see, the infrastructure, the water and the wastewater facilities, the oil and gas facilities, even large manufacturing facilities like these maritime places, just getting access into those places that normal people won't. It's amazing. Same thing, the Space Needle in Seattle called us out, wanted to talk about embedding drones into their cleaning regimen. So we took one of our drones. We had a company that does cleaning and had one of our drones meet us there. And we used their equipment, and we flew up and cleaned, just sprayed some water on some of the windows of their lower observation deck. But, being able to climb to the top of the Space Needle where the public isn't allowed and look out over the bay and the city was just pretty amazing. So getting access to places that normally you would never get access to has been kind of fun and exciting.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
So I saw you on mic. Eric, did you have a question, or did I just happen to catch it now? No. Okay. I thought maybe he unmiked for a specific reason. And so how unique, what an opportunity. And so we dove right into the actual presentation, all your amazing videos and such. Can you elaborate a little bit more how you became so involved in this, and what an opportunity, because you don't see this very often. It's very niche. And so how did you get involved in this?
Yeah, it's a kind of an interesting story, the backstory. My previous company I founded was a internet software security company. And I love software, even though I'm not formally trained in that, right? My wife says I have the chip. I just kind of understand how software engineers think and how they write code. And I've written some code before, but I'm not very good at it. So I'm fortunate to be able to attract people that are much more talented than I am. But I have my software company, and my wife and I own a beach house, and it needed painting. And I used to paint houses working my way through college. And so it's, you drive underneath it, then it's 2 stories. So it's pretty tall. So I had the scaffolding. I'm like, I can paint this. I used to paint houses. So I had the scaffolding delivered. I'm on a ladder on top of the scaffolding. I'm up there painting, and I quickly realized I'm not in college anymore. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And I thought, drones, with software, keep it the right distance from the wall, because to me, a drone is a flying computer. And if you're a flying computer, you're software. So with software, keep it the right distance from the wall and paint. And then I'm like, no, that won't really work. Paint's really heavy. Battery life is really limited. You'd have to be landing all the time and changing out the battery and adding more paint. And then it's kind of eureka. You keep the paint on the ground, the power on the ground, bring everything up, an umbilical cord, a tether, and program it. And so that's kind of where I got the idea, and I went from there. So
inspiration, even that was a great story. You never know how inspiration will hit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So we do have a couple more comments and questions into our chat. Parker was wondering, how much does this cost? Somebody's going to ask that, right?
Oh yeah. It's $34,000.
All right. And now, does that include the whole unit, the power source and everything?
So that's just for the drone and everything associated with the drone. You're going to have to get your own, if you're not already a soft wash company and have it, you're going to have to go out and buy your rig or your kit. So that's the pumps and the wand, or the pumps and the hoses and the reservoirs and all that stuff. Because remember, the drone is probably almost never going to do 100% of the job. It's going to do the elevated part. You're still going to do the first and second floor from the ground. And then you've got the flat work, the driveways and the sidewalks, or this, whatever it might be, that also are going to need to be cleaning. So you'll have all that equipment. What comes with the drone for the $34,000 is the drone, the shipping case. So this breaks down, the 4 arms fold down. It's 24 inches cube. It goes inside of a Pelican case. We take it on aircraft with us all the time. That's how we took it out as checked luggage. That's how we took it out to Seattle. Now we ground ship the batteries because you can't take batteries on the airplane. But it includes the batteries, the battery charger, the shipping case, the drone, the wands, the tips, the hoses, the nozzle, the ball valve, everything that you need. So you can, if you already have that equipment, you can hook it up and go out and start doing cleaning jobs. It includes the training as well. So there's a 4-hour product orientation. So we're not teaching you how to clean. We're not teaching you how to fly or get your Part 107. We assume you already have that. What we're doing during that 4 hours is about an hour where you, at our warehouse, you hook up the equipment. We make sure you're comfortable with that. You fly the drone. You clean our test wall. We make sure you're comfortable with that. And then there's about 3 hours of classroom where it's standard operating procedures, best management practices, safety, all those things there.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we offer an additional support package each year, which is just under $6,000. It's $59.95. And that includes 4 extra batteries, because the batteries are expensive. You buy them off of Amazon or from the battery manufacturer, they're about $490. But we're a wholesaler for them, so we sell them for $400 to our customers. And that service plan comes with 4 extra batteries. It comes with a free crasher. If you crash it, no questions asked, we'll repair it or replace it. It comes with expedited service and discount on parts, all that type of stuff.
I think that piggybacks on Sheila's other question about what usually breaks first or needs repair most often.
Yeah, so again, this is custom built. Every component we've got on that drone, we've soaked in sodium hypochlorite, strong bleach, SH, to make sure it's impervious to the chemicals that are typically used in these cleaning jobs. Even light acids are fine. So, it's purpose custom built for this. You could fly it in the rain, it's fine. It's not waterproof, but it is water resistant. It's meant to be in wet environments. You're cleaning, after all, you're spraying water, so it's going to get wet. So what breaks frequently would be not breaks, but gets used up would be the batteries, right? You have a limited use. I think the manufacturer gives you 200 recycles or 200 cycles of recharges is their warranty. Most people get about 300 recharges. The other thing that might be is if you run into a tree or something or clip a tree, the propellers, those would be some of the things. If it's a hard landing, it might crack the landing gear. All of those are field serviceable or field replaceable. But if, for example, a motor goes out or if you hit something with the motor, that's going to require you ship the drone back. We fix it and then ship it back to you.
So what about as far as like in the case of like an airless painter, I know the tip always is something that would clog or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question because not most people think that far in advance. But so the spray painting drone that's under development, we've partnered with Graco. Graco is the manufacturer of a lot of the pumps and the spray equipment, and they're probably the largest seller of those little tips. Because we've partnered with them and we've had multiple discussions on what is needed by painters in the industry, that very question came up, and they have gone and patented 2 designs for us to add to our drones when we're to that point. One is a tip that when you're up in the air and it gets clogged, you flip a button and it rotates to the clean out position. So you'd have to turn the drone, flip a button, it would rotate to a clean out position, and you would squirt paint through it. Stop squirting paint, rotate it back to the cleaning position, turn back into position and clean. So that's one patent. The other one they've patented is the kind of like a revolver on a gun, where if one tip gets clogged, it will click to the next one and then click to the next one. And then they've also helped us with, for example, the trigger that turns on and off the paint. So they custom built a system for us that we added to the drone that we turn on with the software. So you're not hovering and the paint is splattering and just running down the side. The paint doesn't come on until the drone's moving at the proper speed, and make sure that it's the right distance from the wall. If you're too far, it goes off. If you're too close, it goes off. So it has software constraints on its operation to ensure that you're not doing any damage or poor quality with your paint job.
That's incredible. The amount of technology just involved in that aspect of it is just incredible.
Yeah, we have six patents around this, so we've been working on this for quite some time.
Awesome. So another question in our chat is, how many specific companies are using this drone product?
About 100.
Yeah, awesome. All throughout United
Well,
States.
less than that, because some people have 5. Most people, vast majority, buy 1. Every now and then we'll do a fleet sale.
This is just a perfect career path. If this is the direction that you've been going, it's a tool. It's a must-have tool.
well, right now, there are situations that allow for outsized profits because they're either one, you're bidding against and competing against people that are doing it the old way, where they have the cost of bringing in a lift. So you don't not only have that lower equipment cost, but you have the speed advantage because you can do it a lot faster. And then there are some situations where not necessarily cleaning, but often new construction. So for example, in the United Kingdom, every time a building is built, before the contractor hands over the keys to the owner, they do a wash down. Not really a clean, just kind of a rinse. And what happens is there's a scheduling issue, right? So the contractor actually gets an economic reward if they get it done on time or sooner. And there's an economic penalty if they're late. So what's the last thing that happens? The washing. So to bring in the equipment, to schedule a lift, to get access into the site, all these things take a lot of time. It takes no time for the drone. You just roll up and out you go and you start cleaning and washing. And then of course, what might take 2 weeks with a lift, you could potentially do in 2 to 3 days with the drone.
Amazing. Awesome opportunity and technology. Oh, so there's quite a bit going on in our chat right here. I do know it's about 8 minutes before the hour, and so we'll be wrapping it up here shortly. I think we addressed actually some of them. One person had asked again about the batteries, what type they were, and you had mentioned it in your conversation. So he circled in and said the question was answered there.
Yeah, and everybody wants to ask a question, feel free to contact me directly. My email is bob@apellix.com. I put it in the chat there. So you can just send me your questions or give me a call. Give us a call. Just go to the apellix.com website and it's got all of our contact info on there.
This has been amazing, just amazing. So let's real quick, we'll wrap up with one last thought on your behalf as far as sharing about the program and the platform and maybe your journey or anything along those lines.
Well, I just wanted to thank you. I'm very grateful that you make this forum available for the community, for everybody. So that there's several sayings we have around here. One is crawl, walk, run. We want people to start with this drone, get comfortable with it, and then go do the complex thing. Because the first question we often get is, oh, can you do some 3,000-foot tall tower with the drone? And it's like, well, not exactly. You can't see where the water's hitting after 200 feet. So how are you going to clean it? But we also have another mantra that all of us are smarter than any one of us. So thank you, Desi, for getting these groups together. Thank you, Louise, for all of the stuff that you do. Getting groups of people together like this to talk about the opportunities with drone. It allows us to build upon each other's knowledge and be smarter and go out and do great things, because drones have such an amazing potential to change the world and to make the world a better place. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Awesome. But you're making it a better place with your innovative ideas. And
having a lot of fun while I'm doing it. So.
Yay. Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I want to thank you very much, Bob, for joining us, sharing. And you were right. You had some awesome videos to share. So I thank you. I hope everybody has a wonderful Tuesday. We'll see you next week and have fun, but fly safe, right?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. That was awesome. That kind of wraps it up.